right, welcome to another episode of RSG One Mic. Please check out all our material on realsportsguys.com or Real Sports Guys on all social media platforms. I'm here with my guys here. We got a lot to talk about today. You know, Darnell over there looking like he on location, but that's okay. He got the hat and everything on. It's a real sport guy thing. Like, we hustling. Like, we record in between work, jobs, everything else. We just make it happen. So it's good to see y'all. How you doing, Darnell? You staying warm? Got that heat on, right?
Hey, no, this car is off right now. I can't waste gas. I'm at work right now. But yeah, I'm feeling good, man. Last night, oh man, it was a great game. I was at the Lincoln versus Huron game. You know, my little
Okay.
cousin Macari plays for Huron, so I was split. You know, my Uncle John was up there. Um, Marcus, you know, his dad was up there. Cousin Marcus, his dad was up there. Frankie was up there. Blake Corum was up there with us. KJ came back to watch the game. EJ was up there. So like, yeah, it was a family reunion up there, man. And
Okay.
it was a great game too. Huron pulled it out, but Lincoln definitely made them work for it.
Okay. Nothing like hoop, man, in southeastern Michigan, man. It's always that's one thing I miss about being home is high school basketball in southeastern Michigan. You're gonna see somebody who's gonna be playing somewhere on some stage in the near future. You get a chance to see them up close and personal. So nothing like doing it. But man, Hammer, man, what's up, man? How you doing? You staying warm?
Snow, beat the snow. Was in Milwaukee for a hot minute, came back, beat the snow. So when it started falling, so that's what's
All right. Well, welcome to all our listeners.
so.
We appreciate y'all supporting us. We out here hustling a little bit. So we're gonna spend a little time today, talk a little bit about, and we've been going back and forth in our chat because it's got a lot of layers to it. Talking about what's happening down at Bethune-Cookman. It's actually a personal side of the story for me as well. So I'm paying close attention to what's happening there. But a lot's happened since Ed Reed was recognized and hired as the football coach for Bethune-Cookman. I think there was a lot of promise in Ed coming. As he was trying to get onboarded, they're still trying to get his contract ready. But Ed was hitting the ground running. He wasn't wasting time. Anyone, as Darnell says, anyone who knows Ed Reed knows he's passionate. You got to know who you're hiring. Knows that he wasn't going to wait for everything to get down. He's going to try and get running because he was getting things going. So on a number of fronts, he doing what he's trying to do to advance the program, but he got on the ground. And as one of my good brothers, Ty Evans, who's the head coach of Tennessee State women's basketball program, said, when you come in from the HBCU, Ty came from Auburn, you got to get it from the mud here. You got to get it from the mud here. It's a different thing. You go from charter flights to getting it from the mud. He told me that explicitly. And I started to understand that. I think Ed got a sense of what that meant in a whole different way. And, before you know it, social media is blasting. Ed is doing it in Ed Reed ways, as he probably did it when he was on the field, when he wanted to make his point to people that he didn't like what was going on. You could see why Ed controlled the locker room, right? That's one thing you do know from this thing is why the Ravens defense was the Ravens defense and why he's always been good. But there are certain ways that you have to be able to advance things in that space that's a little bit different. So everything's unraveled. Next thing you know, you have protests, students protesting a whole bunch of conditions. In some ways, it's a microcosm of what we see at a number of HBCUs, unfortunately, because the way funding has played out in a lot of different ways. And a lot of it's with, how people have managed it on the ground for administration, but some of it's just, you look at the distribution of funding across support HBCUs versus, other predominantly white institutions. Support is different. So all this got some structural stuff behind it, but it's a mess. Just call it what it is. It's a mess. So we figured we're going to spend some time. That's what we got to do. We got to spend some time here. So I just kind of laid it out a little bit. They decided that they were not going to ratify or support the board of directors for the for Bethune-Cookman was not going to hire, did not authorize to hire Ed because of the things that he said, and I guess the way that he presented himself. And then everything else, all hell broke loose. So players are protesting, not having Ed here. You had recruits on campus who were ready to sign. Some had already committed, so there's a lot going on. So let me start with Darnell, because I know you've been holding back on some things that you want to lay out. So I do want to give you a space to kind of let it breathe a little bit and let you share just what you've been observing and your perspective.
But yeah, first of all, I gotta give some background myself, right? Because as long-time listeners of the show, you probably already know my team growing up. I used to root for the Ravens. Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, those are my favorite players growing up. So I do have some biases. And Ed Reed conducted himself in a completely unprofessional manner. And I'm not saying that he should, still retain his job, but some things that was uncovered was extremely alarming to me, because I always heard, I heard the same stuff that you heard, that, at HBCU, sometimes you have to get it out the mud, but to the degree of stuff, like, it almost seemed like they had these boys playing in Vietnam or something. Man, they sharing helmets. Like, we played football. We didn't share helmets in middle school. I was playing football in 7th grade. We never shared helmets. What in the world? And then what got me is when the interim president was on Roland Martin's show, defending the state of the school. He was up there like he vehemently denied. He's like, no, they do not share helmets. And then another thing, they're talking about the mold outbreak in the school. He said, well, some of you guys don't know. What is there? It's not mold. It's just mildew. So I looked it up. What is mildew? Mildew is a form of mold. I'm like, this dude is over here just trying to mislead the people. Man, I'm out on this, man.
Yeah.
But hey, I did see the video you sent when they brought some of the old former players back to talk to the players. That was a nice move. I do respect that, but yeah, I can't rock with the president.
Yeah, I'll get to some of those layers a little bit. I want to bring Hampton in to provide a perspective, because both of us have been in higher ed spaces. We watched, we've seen things through lenses of a number of institutions, and know there's always some backstory around a lot of this stuff. So I'd love to have your perspective and just your thoughts as you looked at this.
Yeah, D. Wells, about the Ed Reed situation. I have no sympathy for Ed Reed. Ed Reed understands contracts. He had a letter of intent at the U, which is a contract. He also had a contract with the Baltimore Ravens, a contract with Houston Texas' defensive back coach, a contract with University of Miami, and so he understood basically that about contracts. So the fact that he felt he was fired, he wasn't fired. He wasn't even hired. So it just shows a lack of professionalism by Ed Reed to cut up and clown before you even have a contract and then claim you got fired. It also shows that Ed Reed has no respect for HBCUs, like it's a wild, wild west, because he wouldn't do this at PWI. He did he crossed his T's and dotted his I's related to HBCUs concerning when he was at the PWI. So you're going to go to a HBCU private school that only depends on tuition and alumni dollars, as you said, only 1% giving rate, and you have Jackson State you turned down, which was stunning, that has a public stream of funding from the state of Mississippi because you don't want to follow Dion, and you want to cut up and clown and embarrass your employer and then expect them to hire you. That makes no sense. It shows a lack of common sense. It shows a lack of, again, of professionalism. It shows a lack of respect for HBCUs, thinking you can get away with everything at HBCU, but you wouldn't do this at a PWI. So Brother Reed, I have no sympathy for Brother Reed. And you look at the fact also that Brother Reed, was doing all this stuff. If he had a contract, he would have recourse and be able to do this stuff. But you can't do this stuff without a contract. And so I don't blame Bethune for getting rid of him, and they'll get some good people like Clevin Sumlin and other people to take the job, and they'll sign their contract before they cut up.
The point that Hammer's making is that there's a distinct difference with being a private institution and being a public institution in terms of funding sources. And it makes it even more challenging because, Jackson State, FAMU, they are tapping into public state funds because they are public state universities, which makes the business model much more different than. So when the president is talking about a 1% giving rate in it, when you're driven on net tuition, that's a problem. And so they got a lot of structural issues that they have to really begin to address. And some of that's affecting their ability to distribute financial aid on time, in ways in which, where students are supposed to be getting their resources at a certain part of time, how people might be drawing down their money, because you might not have the infrastructure, you don't have the staffing to move some of these things, and you can't react. And then you go through 2 hurricanes. When you're a public university, you sometimes can tap into things that are different kind of resources than you can tap into when you're a private university, trying to navigate these same things. And so, knowing what you're going into, I think your point about Ed is that, there's even an onboarding period, and it came up in a couple of resources as we were preparing for the show, where, coaches often have a memorandum of understanding, some type of agreement as they're trying to nail out the contract. There's a period with that. And I think part of the structural issue that happened, because the president said this, so I glean by what you said and what you didn't say, because Darnell, you pointed out some really good points about some of the statements he was making on the show. But I do want to bring some clarity on a couple of things that really are clear. Everybody knew, obviously, Ed is going to be a first-time head coach. One of the structural issues that I think were at play here that could have even curved some of this is the fact that Reggie Theus is also, he's the athletic director and basketball coach, which is a tough model to run, because in those models, you're always going to be a coach first and administrative second. And when you have someone who's, we'll put it novice right now, first time head coach, if you are a full-time AD with a person the stature of Ed Reed, you are connected at the hip. If I'm the AD, I'm with Ed everywhere. I'm bringing, if Ed's coming to campus, we running an entire onboarding structure. We're going to walk the campus together. Ed's going to look at stuff. We're going to talk about it and say, hey, this is going to be the strategy. We're going to be in constant communication. It's almost going to be like we living together. I'm not letting him go anywhere. We're walking through the whole thing. But when you Reggie Theus doing this, you doing this from, if you look at the SWAC schedule, because my niece plays for it. I mean, they'll do a full weekend the way they do it, where they're going to be, they'll play Jackson State on Saturday. Then they got Monday night against Alcorn, and their travel conditions aren't always like they're traveling like, you're Florida State University traveling, right? So, but they got good. So you're managing that first, and then you trying to probably talk to Ed on the phone while you're on the road. That's the dynamic you have. So you have all those things going together. But I think the point that Carl is saying, that even when these things are going, Ed, you got to wait till the contract is dry. Like you can't come out the gate yelling, and you don't even have a contract set. You ain't got the most important thing, it ain't even about your contract. You don't even got your assistant coaches paid yet, which is the most important. Any head coach, like this, Darnell, you've been watching. Like, this is why some of these coaches have left. The reason why they leave a lot of times is not for their contracts. It's their assistant coaches. They're looking out for them. And when their deals aren't right, because they know the strength of having a good program is making sure your assistant coaches are set up. So you not only messed up your money, which you can recover from, you mess up the money of the people you promised as assistant coaches who have either left something, right? Who are put their stake in it. So, like, Hammer, you hit it right on the head. Like, why are I always had this thing about, I say time and place. Time and place is everything, right? And it wasn't the time or the place, right?
The thing about Ed Reed is I don't think there is a time or place for that. Like you, as
Yes.
far as going public on Instagram, I guess the only time and place is that is after you've already left the job. Like, okay,
Yes.
this is what's going on. But
Yes.
you don't do that as you're the coach of the school.
Yes. Yes.
You even do that after you leave a job because people are going to hire you if you blasting your.
But the thing about Ed Reed is Ed Reed wants the job. He doesn't need the job necessarily.
That's right.
The assistants, like Devon said, the assistants, some of the assistants, they do need the job. So you messing them over.
But they need their heads examined. The first thing, if I'm taking the, if he says no, I'm like, brother, talk to me when you got a contract signed. Because I ain't leaving a situation. I mean, they have skin in the game too. I'm not for them either because if they left us, all of us, if you get a thing signed before, I mean, it's just common sense. And so when disrespect for HBCUs because he thinks they're so backwards and okay, we don't need a contract. We'll come in there willy-nilly.
Well,
he wouldn't do that to the U. He wouldn't do that to the Texans. He wouldn't do that to. So yes.
But part of that is you like in the black community you see it like you see somebody black in positions of power. It's like, oh, they black, so they gonna take care of them. But you know, it's business is business. You got to
Tyree. Come on, tell it to
business is business.
Business is business. And so it appears like, they've had a meeting with some ex-players, Reggie Theus, and current president, in terms of, with the players. And one of the interesting things, the president said to the players too, is that you have some responsibility in this. Y'all can't be tearing stuff up. He was like saying, I'm hearing, stuff. I'm trying to respond to the stuff, and you also have a responsibility with this behavior. So that's true as well. So if we're going to establish this foundation. But the other thing is, the alumni have to start coming to the table. My advisor used to talk about this. We talked about a lot of these things in terms of how we need to come to the table. We also need to come to the table with resources. It don't make any sense for Bethune to be at 1% given from alumni. Now, the way you can do it is you can come to the table with money and you can have that restricted funds go directly to students. There's a lot of ways to do this if you're worried about the way in which the administration's going. But there's no way in the world you can have 1% given and expect for an institution to function who is a private institution, as Carl's been saying, they're driven by two things: fundraising and tuition. Mm-hmm. And then you got to think about what a high percentage of the students that are being recruited are first generation, and they're going to be a percentage of them who are going to be a high percentage of Pell Grant eligible students. So you need resources in order to create these new features for folks. And so when you got 1% given, that we can't even come to the table and talk. That can't even be a feature. And we got to think differently about how we're going to try to transform. This is an institution, Darnell and I, we have a link to the founder. We believe we've been searching it. My sister been looking at it, right? And so there's another reason why this means a lot to us. And so I'm really thinking about, I'm going to, obviously go down to campus at some point here in the near future to have a little deeper conversation. But there's ways in which we got to think about how we act and how we might try to push this stuff forward. And we do got to hold people accountable, but everybody got to be part of the solution. Now, they all have some candidates that's coming up. And so the name that came up is Kevin Sumlin is a possible candidate for the position, which I think would be a great hire if he was willing to do it. He's currently
that's the thing. Is he willing to do it?
He's a USFL, right?
I think he was interested. He's right now he's with the USFL, Houston Gamblers. And then it's Raymond Woody, who was a big partner with Willie Taggart a little bit. I think he'd been a defensive guy. I think he started at Bethune-Cookman between, I think it was like 1990s. So they got some names. He's first team All MEAC at the time. And then the other thing is, I think his name is Chennis Berry. So he was at Benedict College, Division II, HBCU in I think it's South Carolina. He turned that program around. They just won their title, 11-1 record. So they got some candidates. I think one of the things that the president was saying that they got some really good candidates. I was like, well, who's interested in this job? This is according to the Daytona Beach News Journal. I think it's Chris Vinell is the person reporting on this. But if they get Kevin Sumlin, that's an experienced coach that knows how to run something and can recruit. Anything Kevin can do, Kevin can recruit if they do it. But it sounds like they have some pretty good candidates who are looking at coming in and who are coming in this with their eyes wide open. So we'll be tracking it. The one thing I can say, at least from my niece's basketball experience, coach there has been insulating them, I think. I think they've been working their second year there. And I've noticed some things on the ground that she has just tried to make sure that but when you manage in a smaller basketball program, numbers wise, you can manage that group a little bit better than, a football program that might be about 75, 80 players. But I know that they've been trying to manage some stuff on the ground, but we'll keep an eye on where they go with this football coach. But if they end up with somebody like Kevin Sumlin, that's somebody who can talk to corporate folks. Now you got a tag team between him and Reggie. He knows how to, think about facilities. And I think one of the things they did say in their most recent stuff is that they got a practice facility that's supposed to be coming on board and some other stuff. So we'll see. What did Reggie said? Reggie said, you can hold me accountable. Right.
Yeah, that was part of the thing. That's like you said earlier, survival mode. They in survival mode right now. Like, man, when I heard that they don't have a practice field, that they didn't have a practice field on site. They practice at somewhere else. I forgot. And they don't have locker rooms or showers. I'm like, what? They got to go back to the dorm and shower after practice?
I mean, you got Division III institutions that got better facilities than that. But the thing about it is those things are raised with money, right? You don't get those facilities. Universities don't come up with them things by themselves. They have donors who help to do that. And so when you got your donor pool is only 1%, you ain't getting no locker rooms.
But the thing I have to say is, it hasn't. The donor rate has not always been at 1%. Something happened to make it be 1%.
The highest it's ever been is 11%, and the highest it's ever been from what I was told. And I think Roland was on this. I think the height was 11%. That's still low.
Yeah,
that's a trend across HBCU.
Children have. I mean, people give back when they're connected, or they have alumni engagements, Raggedy, or all the time. But he has means. I mean, I think that sadly the 1% is the cream of the struggling. Especially this pandemic. Yeah, these corporate layoffs coming or happening. So it's just unfortunate. But the main thing is, again, like all these discussions, nothing, because he didn't have a contract. That's the bottom line. You don't have a contract, you have discussions about nothing. Recourse, and basically Brother Reed came. It's disrespectful. You come to HBU, you think have a contract, and then you think they'll ratify you? Come on, man.
That's business 101.
You wouldn't do that to the Ravens, but yeah, you
I wish we
the
could
contracts are different because you're at HBCU compared to PWI. Contracts are the same thing. Any university, if you ain't got, that's the bottom line. So I mean, Brother Reed, I ain't got no sympathy for him. He looks like a damn fool.
Man, the Hammer, we got a lot of that. I wish we'd have got most of it. We all got a little, we got the weather in the Midwest. Before we close out, and we'll be tracking this story. I wanted to talk about, just quickly give your thoughts on we got the conference championships. We down to 4. Who do you got? I'll start with you, Darnell, because I know you got to get in here and do your hustle. Who do you got winning these? Who got going to Super Bowl now that we kind of see who's matching up.
Man, I can't bet against Joe Burrow. I got Cincinnati going. And
You
on
mean
the other
I'm
end,
him?
yep. I can't bet against Joe Burrow. Speaking of that, you guys said we had this conversation last year at the end of the season. Y'all said Joe Burrow not a top 5 quarterback. I just wanted to see if we still standing on that. But yeah, on the other side, man, that other side is real tough. This other side is real tough. Shoot, give me the Eagles. The Eagles. They have. This is going to be a battle at the line of scrimmage. Both teams are exceptionally strong on both lines. 49ers have one of the best. They have probably the best offensive lineman, probably the best player in the league, in Trent Williams. And the Eagles have a collective unit, man. Jason Kelce, at his age, is still playing at a great level. You still have Lane Johnson up there. They have a great offensive line. Jalen Hurts over there he's continued on his improvement. He's really good. You got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I think I'm going with the Eagles because I think both lines are going to fight to a stalemate. It's going to be a battle in there. But man, it's tough. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I think there are two very evenly matched teams.
All right.
So I got Bengals.
Okay. Who you got, Hammer?
As far as my playoff prediction, again with the first game, the early game, the Philadelphia against the Niners, I think, again, Brock Purdy is going to be exposed this game. The defensive backfield for Philly is awesome. And the bottom line is that Purdy will be exposed by Mr. Gannon, the defensive coordinator. And I think, again, you have a Philly team that is well-balanced with Goddard, with Sanders, ex-offensive line, Kelce, and, again, showing that balance, and they got to get the ball to A.J. Brown, which they will. A.J. Brown was a decoy last week, but he will be main star this week and win. And San Francisco, again, they've got McCaffrey. McCaffrey's, though, been banged up this week. I don't know how well he's going to do. Again, excellent offensive line they have. But I think, again, Philly and the Lincoln Financial is a tough place to play. And gritty, and I think that it's going to be a hostile environment for the Niners. The Niners are going to lose. As far as the late game, the AFC game with Patrick Mahomes, I thought definitely this would be a big victory. But after them cutting up, talking about Burrowhead and disrespecting the Chiefs, I think it'll be closer. But I still think Cincinnati's going to win because even though Brother Mahomes has dog in him, he's got a high ankle sprain a week out. He's going to be limited. And the key thing about that offense, and they show it with even get rid of Tyreek Hill, was that Mahomes' mobility is a key thing. It's not like Jalen Hurts or Justin Fields where he's running and getting rushing yards. No, his mobility to make plays, to get the plays to Marcus Valdes-Scantling, to the backfield, and Pacheco, Juju Smith-Schuster. That's going to be McKinnon. That's going to be the key thing as far as, again, that's going to be limited. And the defensive backfield for Cincinnati, as well as their whole defense, it showed out. They had a great game against Buffalo, and I think that they're being limited. And the only way KC can win is they can get pressure with Kalaskis and Chris Jones, who I think should be defensive MVP, as well as Frank Clark. But I haven't seen those cats this playoff season. They need to show up and show out against that offensive line that is limited. But Burrow's gotten rid of the ball quickly. He's got great checkdowns with excellent receivers, with T. Higgins, brother Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, excellent backfield people, and Mixon and Perine. So I still think that, again, Cincinnati will win because of the limitations but it's going to be a closer game than I think it was because these cats and Bengals, they acting like the Grizzlies. They cutting up before they play. They don't mess around and could lose like the Grizzlies did against the Lakers and have a Shannon Sharp situation. So yeah, that's what I have as far as my playoff prediction. Peace.
The Kansas City Bengals game is a tough one because some ways it feels like that style bender issue with he got with Alex. You know, it looked like you should have won, but dang, they keep beating you. You don't know how it's like that UFC, you know, it's like Asanya should have won, but you know, it looked like he better. He got to the 5th round and he got knocked out. And you're like, how did he keep losing? And that's what it's like, you know, it seems like the Bengals have it because they got him. But I think Patrick Mahomes is like, I had enough. I think Patrick Mahomes, for some reason, is said, I had enough. I'm being this nice guy, but now this is getting personal. And I think he does Mahomes things. I'm with you. Burrow's a top 5 now. You know, got me. I apologize. You know,
He's top 5 now, definitely.
Yeah, you know, top 5 dead or alive. He ain't that one yet, but he top 5 what we got right now. And he just believe he top 5. It ain't even whether you tell him he top 5 or not. He walk around like top 5, act like top 5, and play like top 5. That's why I used to tell people about Draymond back in the day. Well, you know, you're not gonna give him that kind of contract. He walk around like he deserved that contract. He tried to play like it. You know, not Draymond today, but Burrow he's that dude. But I just think that Mahomes, this is the kind of thing that's gonna make his legacy. Everybody talking about his ankle. Everybody that, you know, he don't have Tyreek Hill. This is where he gonna try and just figure out how to make it happen. And so I got a feeling that Kansas City gets this one. On the other side, yeah, I got Philly, and part of it is just location. If you've ever been to a game in Philly, in Lincoln Financial, just walking in there is nothing nice. I mean, that fan base is going to be crazy, and those corners are going to make a difference. Now, the key is not just what the corners do, but what they're going to do with McCaffrey. That running game, McCaffrey's going to be the key. You got to be able to, because they can do so much with him. But the people got to realize, as much as Shanahan is getting a lot of love about stuff, he's folded like wet noodles in big games. And, you know, he's done his thing. You know, he's had some folds. And I just think that Philly, I think Hurts is like, I think this is his moment. He got to have this big win for his career. I think he's ready for it. He's been preparing for it. It's going to be a barn burner, but I think it's going to be Philly, and then it's going to be Philly and Kansas City. Woo! And then we'll talk about that one next. We'll see what happens. Well, hey, fellas, is good. I know a lot going on. I know, Darnell, you got to get over there. This is what we do. Real sports guys, we hustle in between work. You know, Darnell probably went and shot this morning, worked out. Now he got to get to work. He did a show in between that. Hammer's probably in between, you know, events he's got to go to. You know, I'm trying to work in between stuff and everything else. So we got to love it. Before I get off, I want to wish my mother a happy birthday. Love you, Mom. And I'll be calling you soon. So I can't get off without wishing her an happy birthday as well. And then, you know, just can't help but, you know, as well as we get off the air, to recognize we lost another life in Memphis. And, you know, I'm getting tired of statements, so I'm not gonna spend too much about it. But, you know, we have to continue. You know, the fight is on, it's real. And everybody was one of the reasons why I wear my license basically around my neck when I'm driving. You know, it's hard being a Black man in America. And even though these were officers who were Black, it's still part of a larger justice system that has been identifying Black males in the way it has been identifying Black males. And, you know, everybody within the system is guilty of these outcomes as anything. Folks should not be getting stopped and not making it home. Just point blank. So, you know, you can come up with all this other stuff about obey. I don't hear none of that crap. People should be able to get from A to B. You should be able to get stopped, get out, move, and release. We can't be getting through all this stuff, and we keep living these moments over and over again. And so I'm done. I'm in a position where I always have to I'm done making statements. We need to be having some real change on this work. And so we'll keep pushing it here on RSG. You know, we all kind of walking in our own little worlds. You know, waking up every day, to see another life gone is something I'm a little bit tired of. And so I hope that more people are, and hope that we stop making excuses. So that's here from the rest of us here at RSG. We love all y'all. Take care of each other until we see you on the other side.